Before we begin, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more amazing videos. Woman confesses 10-year secret, then realizes she forgot to turn Zoom off. Katy couldn't keep it in any longer. She had to tell someone, and why not her sister? She could keep a secret, so she hesitated for a second before telling her something she'd kept hidden for 10 years. She felt the burden lift for a second before she heard a gruff voice behind her. "I can still hear you." She felt her blood run cold. She turned to see her husband Ricky staring at her from their Zoom call, the one she thought she had ended. Katy Smith felt like she had it all. She and her two beautiful twins named Molly and Megan and a charming husband named Ricky. They all lived in a cozy house and couldn't be happier. She felt that nothing was going very wrong in her life, but what would happen next would shatter her seemingly perfect life. Katy met Ricky 14 years ago, and it was love at first sight. Ricky was the perfect husband. He had it all. He was handsome, charming, and kind. Katy knew he was the guy she'd marry. Soon enough, the inevitable happened, and the lovers got engaged and married. Katy knew that she had everything she could have ever wanted in the world. But people do silly things, don't they? The natural thing that comes after marriage is children, and after a few months, the two started trying for a baby. Soon enough, Katy was pregnant with not one baby, but twins. When she had her children, she fell in love with them instantly. They were everything she could have ever hoped for, and she would do anything for them, even if it was unthinkable. Motherhood wasn't all it was cracked up to be. Katy spent most of her time dealing with messes. This meant she was really tired while she was with her kids, but she had to be there for her kids all the time. Having twins was definitely twice the effort for this first-time mom. But there was something more sinister lurking underneath the surface of Ricky and Katy's relationship. Everyone who knew Katy knew she was a doting mother who would do anything for her twins. She was dedicated to being the best mom she could, and certainly wasn't easy, but she managed. But none of her friends or family knew that she was hiding a secret. She'd been living a lie and wanted to make sure it stayed a secret. It had been kept hidden. Until now. Katy had recently started to work from home and was getting used to it. She'd never had to use Zoom before and thought she was getting the hang of it. It was soon going to be the 10th birthday, so you can imagine how stressed out she was. But she'd never had that her normal Monday morning could have ended so badly. It had been bad luck. Katy's husband was away on business. She had really needed his help but couldn't get any from him due to his business priorities. But since Ricky was away on important business, she was left with the kids all on her own. Planning their birthday and looking after them while juggling her work made it far from easy. Katy was working from home on a normal Monday morning. She felt that she was getting used to it quite well. She woke up her children early to get them ready for school and video called her husband to say hello. Afterwards, she started her long 9-to-5 shift. Before her first meeting of the day, she didn't think the day could take such a turn. Things would soon shatter her world. Lunchtime was coming around the corner and Katy clocked off to take her lunch break. She fed her twins and got ready for another Zoom call with her husband. She'd missed him so much. She looked at his handsome face on the screen, wishing he could be there for her in person. But she had no idea what was about to happen. Suddenly, Katy's phone rang. It was her sister, Laura. "I've got to go," she told Ricky through the computer. "It's my sister." Ricky responded with a smile and blew a kiss into the camera. Katy grabbed the air kiss and held onto her heart. She waved goodbye, picked up the phone call, and then logged off from Zoom. Or so she thought. Katy and her sister Laura were very close. With only 2 years difference in age, the two women were inseparable in both childhood and adulthood. They shared everything with each other. The sisters were best friends, and they knew all of each other's secrets. Laura even knew Katy's secret, the one that Laura swore would stay hidden. The two sisters spoke on the phone discussing last night's TV show that they were both hooked on. Soon after, they discussed the twins' birthday, with Laura confirming that she'll be attending their virtual party. But then the casual conversation led to something more sinister. "With the twins turning 10, you've got to come clean," her sister said. "You have to tell him," she told Katy. Katy could feel fear wash over her. "It would devastate him, though," she said. Then a voice from behind him said, "I can still hear you." Katy stands frozen in her tracks. Her sister was calling out for her on her phone, but Katy was silent. She could feel her heartbeat in her throat as she realized that Ricky was still on the Zoom call and he had heard everything. Had she just exposed the very secret she swore would stay hidden? Katy turned around and saw Ricky was indeed still on the Zoom call. His face on the computer screen was filled with confusion and sadness. Katy felt sick to her stomach. She had well and truly officially been caught out. You see, 10 years ago, Katy had an affair with an ex-boyfriend. It was a mistake and something Katy regretted still to this day. She never told Ricky, but a month after her indiscretion, she became pregnant. Katy had a gut feeling that her ex was the father and not Ricky, but she couldn't tell him. It would destroy him. Instead, she confided in her sister, Laura, and the two were sworn to secrecy. When the twins were born, Katy did a DNA test using the twins and Ricky's DNA. She did the test behind Ricky's back, and the results turned her world upside down. As expected, Ricky wasn't the father of the twins, which tore Katy's world in two. She knew it was her own fault, and she only had herself to blame, but she could never tell Ricky. She insisted that she and Laura were never to speak of it or mention it again. She tried her hardest to bury the secret, but some secrets just won't stay buried. While on the phone with her sister, Laura, Katy spoke the very words any man would never want to hear. He's not the father. After Katy got caught out, Ricky hung up on her just as she was about to explain everything. She felt tears well up in her eyes. With Ricky quarantining in another house and the two kids in the house, how could she explain herself? She rang and rang his cell phone, but he didn't pick up. Maybe he just needed time to cool off, Katy thought. Surely things couldn't get any worse. But she was so wrong. The day after, Katy had not heard a peep from Ricky. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. He didn't even call to say goodnight to the twins before bed. Then, just as Katy was about to run the twins a bath, she received a message on her cell phone. It was from Ricky, and what he said left her lost for words. Of course, Ricky was devastated. After the initial shock, he thought very carefully about how to proceed now that he knew his wife had been unfaithful. He couldn't believe that she'd kept the truth from him for so long. In the end, he knew he couldn't bear to be with her anymore. I want a divorce, Ricky wrote. As soon as she read those words, Katy felt her heart shatter in two. She sank to the floor, gripping her phone, knowing she only had herself to blame. And so, despite a worldwide pandemic, Ricky was quick with his actions, and the following week, Katy received the divorce papers. Katy had held on to the massive lie for 10 years. In a way, she almost felt relieved that it was finally out in the open. She'd been living in fear throughout her children's formative years. Naturally, she didn't get a cent in the divorce settlement, but Ricky loved his daughters and promised to continue to provide for them. He even set up a trust fund so they could go to college when the time came. Please share this with your friends and family.